Thought leadership videos are the superheroes of any video strategy. Featuring trailblazers within your industry, these videos are authentic and personal. They can help you make a splash and attract new customers while building a stronger community. But in order to reap the benefits, you have to deliver inspiring content and you have to do it right. It's important to grab people's attention with a refreshing idea that generates discussion and challenges others to question their own methods. Once you have a solid concept, you can get creative with the actual format of your thought leadership videos. You might choose to create a vlog or an educational presentation in which one speaker walks an audience through a new concept. Or a thought leadership video could take the form of a conversation, an interview, or a panel discussion. You might even repurpose content from webinars or live keynote presentations. To make the strongest impact, you're going to need more than one of these thought leadership videos. You're going to need a series. You can display them all in one place in a hub and also across social media channels. LinkedIn loves these. If your message is strong, the views will follow.
Hey there, I'm Blake Smith, the creative director here at Vidyard, and to my left is
Matthew King. I'm the video production manager at Vidyard.
So now that we just explained to you what thought leadership videos are and how you can go about making your own thought leadership videos, we want to look at a thought leadership video and share our thoughts. We normally break it down, but with this and with other thought leadership videos, you can't necessarily break it down because it's just something that you can go about in so many ways that there isn't really specific ways to do it. It's more, you know, I guess in a way, I don't know, would you say philosophical?
Yeah,
more?
who am I to break down somebody's thoughts?
Exactly. So anyway, so the video that we want to look at today is by the RSA, which is the Royal Society of Arts, Manufacturers and Commerce. I had to look at that one because it is a mouthful. But anyways, it is a community working for social change, and they pretty much hold a lot of thought leadership events. So the video, actually, what we're looking at today is by Simon, is it Sinek?
I think it's Simon Sinek or Sinek. He's a pretty well-known person. If you looked him up, you'd be like, oh, I've seen
Yeah, there's the one video he did that went pretty viral. I can't remember the exact premise of it, but I just remember it went pretty viral on Facebook.
Well-known.
But anyway, so this is a 3-minute soundbite from a presentation that he did at one of RSA's events, and they went about presenting it actually in a very clever way. So that being said,
let's get in there.
We're going to jump in.
Great culture, no matter where we are, no matter how big the organization, is not about intensity, it's about consistency. You can't get into shape by going to the gym for 9 hours. It won't work. But if you work out every single day for 20 minutes, you will absolutely get into shape, right? Intensity is like going to the dentist. It's fixed in time. We know exactly what date we're going. We know how long we're going to be there.
So with this video, Simon's essentially giving, I don't know if the presentation was specifically on the concept of intensity versus consistency, but this section that they pulled from his presentation is about that topic of intensity versus consistency. So it's essentially a 3.5-minute soundbite that of him sharing at an event, and it's literally audio pulled from it. You'll hear, you know, the laughs and whatnot from the audience in this audio. So there's nothing done specifically to the audio. It's more so the visuals that they did here, which is pretty obvious that they went about using animations to help convey the concept that he's sharing.
We've kind of covered this in another video previously where animation was used to otherwise kind of describe a somewhat complex idea. And the beauty of it as well, again, is that you can kind of take viewers on a larger journey without the constraints of real life visuals kind of constraining you. So in this world, within the world of illustration and animation, you can kind of bend the rules of reality to kind of make things animate in a very funky way that kind of tie different ideas together in a way that they maybe otherwise wouldn't as easily in the real world, which really works based off of his talk to take us through this like, kind of watercolory illustrations mixed with the animation of people and circumstances. I think it really works to kind of take us on this journey along the way and make it even more interesting than just an individual on stage talking to a group, right? Even if he did have a presentation screen behind him and maybe some interesting pictures or slides, this takes it to another level of animating what somebody said that's very compelling. So this is a really cool way of kind of breaking that down.
Mm-hmm. And we know that when we come out, our teeth will feel smooth and look pearly. But if that's all we do, all our teeth will fall out. In other words, intensity is not enough.
There's something disturbing about that.
Terrifies me.
Yellow teeth being licked clean.
If only if only it were that easy.
Absolutely nothing, unless you do it every single day. Can you leave out a day? Sure. How many days can you leave out? I don't really know. How many times do you have to brush your teeth before it works? I don't know that either. And this is why companies don't do it. Because we like intensity. We like things that are fixed in time and easily measured. We want to make leaders. What do? We have a company offsite. We invite a whole bunch of speakers. Everybody gives the event an 8.5. Leaders. No.
So yeah, and as you mentioned, like we did talk about that meditation one, which was from Headspace, and that was an example for an explainer video. So as you can see from this, it's very, very closely connected to an explainer video, especially an animated one, because it does allow you to go outside those boundaries of, I guess, reality and really kind of get conceptual with the visuals to help explain and capture this thought leader, in this case, Simon's concept. For me, what I really liked about it is that I'm actually seeing the visual aspect of it. And sometimes when he's jumping back and forth in between intensity and consistency, if you're just listening, sometimes you can get caught up in that. And then you start thinking about it. And then as you're thinking about it in your head, you're then now lost because you weren't really paying attention to what he was saying. And so with having those visuals, it really does help drive home that concept that he's trying to share without actually having to give it too much thought in your head.
That's right.
And that's for me, just being the type of learner that I am.
Yeah, that's right. It's a presentation. Presentations, particularly on thought leadership, are often full of so many analogies, right? And so this snippet is full of lots of analogies for you to help kind of understand the greater concept of intensity versus consistency.
Like lifting weights, brushing teeth.
That's right. All those different elements, right? So for some people, that might be harder to imagine than others. And this is the gateway to being able to understand how he's trying to explain this to a broader audience, which is a really cool thing to do.
No. We like intensity. How do we fix broken companies? Reorg. New management. Aha! We can see the results. Layoffs.
And like as we said before, like given that this is from an event, it really is a great way to repurpose that content and give it a second life, or a different approach opposed to what its original purpose was.
Because the RSA has a series of these that they do, right? So they break down and they get animators to build out these really neat pieces of art, but at the same time help to explain more difficult concepts that would otherwise be kind of left to the presenter to kind of explain just through them being on stage for the most part, right? So it's a really cool way to kind of break it down. I think that's something that probably a lot more companies, in fact, can be doing in organizations, which is kind of neat.
And there obviously is that hurdle of finding the animator to do this and whatnot. But,
Sure.
If there's a will, there's a way, right? So you can definitely do something like this.
Yeah.
I paused it here because I just thought it was, a cute way to showcase that little bit of humor that Simon shared, which was, he's talking about consistency of the example of in the morning with your loved one, you say good morning. The first thing you do is say good morning to them before going on your phone, and that's the poke at the having fun at the reality of how the first thing people do when they get out of bed is they pull up their phone and see what's going on the social networks, right?
Even before they get out of bed, they just like roll over, grab on the nightstand, and go, like they start their day on the computer.
And then and as you can hear in the video, as he makes this joke, is that you hear the audience's laughter. So it's a prime example right there that this isn't a specific audio recording that Simon did for them. It was from the said event, and they just repurposed it and gave it a different visual form.
Yeah.
When you get up to get yourself a drink, you bring one back without asking if they even wanted one. Any one of those things does nothing. It's the accumulation of all of those things done over the course of time repeatedly that one day someone will wake up and go, oh my God, I love you. It's the exact same thing in a company, which is we do these things repeatedly, which is instead of waiting for Charlie to show up at the meeting who's running a few minutes late and we're all just on our phones waiting for Charlie. He's just running. Is he here? Just a few more minutes? Okay. Oh, Charlie's here. Good. Let's start the meeting. Instead, we should have no phones in conference rooms ever, because you know what happens? We sit in the room and we talk. We go, I heard your mum's in the hospital. Oh, yeah, thanks. No, she's much better. Thanks for asking. Yeah, yeah. And that's called building relationships. What does it do? Nothing. It does nothing.
So let this play out, but as you can see, this is an animation, and this is just an example, and we may sound like a broken record of how you can just repurpose it. But there are different ways that you can go about creating thought leadership videos, even if it was, say, you had an event and you had a superstar of a thought leader who was your keynote speaker, and they just killed it with their presentation, and you wanted to take that content. You could, rather than maybe doing an animation, you could do something like a whiteboard video or something like that, where it doesn't maybe require having the animation aspect of it, but you could do something where it is, I'm blanking on his name. I want to say his name's Rand Fishkin, but he does a lot of stuff like this, where he's standing in front of a whiteboard. Our very own Tyler Sard does stuff like this, where he's standing in front of a chalkboard, and all that information's on there, and they're pointing out, and they kind of guide you through this journey while using this I guess medium, this canvas in their background. So that's obviously them talking to the camera, but you could do the exact same thing in the situation that the RSA here did with Simon, is taking that audio and repurposing it.
Yeah, and it's a great way to, again, like how they simplified the animations so that it was very easy to follow the analogies and things like that. And that's important, right? Because, I mean, an effective thought leader is somebody that can break down an idea and make it understood for anybody who's watching it across the board, right? This just helps to kind of reinforce that even further and make it into a neat art series as well. The important factor is obviously it's like you're a thought leader for a reason. You have some interesting ideas and concepts on things, but the last thing you want to do is lose people by being overly smart, right? So you don't want to leave everybody behind by being too pie in the sky with some of your analogies and things like that. So try and break it down to a more simpler form, particularly if you're going to do it on camera.
Yeah.
Have some fun.
Yeah, and then this one too. This one's only 3.5 minutes. Let's be real. More likely than not, that the thought leadership piece that you'll come across is generally longer form content.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a prime example that I followed the Corridor Digital crew, and one of their animators did a TED Talk about CG, computer-generated effects. He did the TED Talk presentation, but what he eventually did is then redid that TED Talk presentation, set it on camera, but then really, brought home what he was trying to say with using B-roll and using examples to really, drive home what the point that he was trying to make and the concept that he was trying to share.
Yeah, yeah, really cool. There's lots of great options for making that come across on camera well. So yeah, have some fun with it.
So yeah, so that was a great example of a thought leadership video that was done by the RSA. They took a keynote presenter and literally isolated a concept that he shared during that presentation, and they did it in animation form. It's just one of the plethora of examples that are out there that you can copy to produce your own thought leadership pieces, whether it's repurposing something or having someone within your org or within your network who is, an expert in a certain field or strategy, and they just have a lot of knowledge that they can share, and they're just bleeding out and leaking just knowledge. You can get them in front of a camera and just have them share that, and whether it's a longer form, because even if it is longer form, similar to what the RSA did, you can splice it up into making it into shorter bite-sized pieces that maybe you could turn into series-based content. Or you can give it longer form as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the key to a good thought leadership piece is having your thought leader, not sound too smart, because you don't want to kind of, beat that drum and make people feel left behind, but their job is to bring everybody up to their speed, up to their lane, to bring everybody to the same table. So that is the key goal when being a thought leader and doing a presentation.
So I guess when it comes to making your own, just see what's out there and use your network and with the people that you know that can share their knowledge, and really think about how you can go about and sharing this with the world, and just get creative with it, honestly.